Welcome, everyone, to an extraordinary podcast/live video streaming experience, presented by FentanylSolution.org in collaboration with the compassionate minds at the Fentanyl Solution Group. Get ready for engaging conversations, expert insights. Welcome to Fentanyl Solution, advocating for lives, inspiring change.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fentanyl Solutions syndicated podcast and live stream. I'm Janice M. Celeste, your host and president and CEO of FentanylSolution.org and the Fentanyl Solution Group. Fentanyl Solution is based in Orange County, California, but we are a nationwide nonprofit organization. I want to tell you and all of your followers about the show, so make sure you share this link. After all, sharing is caring. The replay will be available after the broadcast, and know that our hashtag for the show is hashtag Fentanyl Solution. My guest today is Amy Neville. Amy's 14-year-old son, Alex, died after taking an Oxycontin pill. He died from fentanyl poisoning. He got it from a dealer who found him on Snapchat. How are you doing, Amy?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you for being here. I want to get right into it. Please tell the audience about what led up to Alex's death and what happened to him. And make sure you speak up. I'm not sure, but you're a little low. So let's make sure.
Okay, I will do my best here. I will try my best.
Thank you.
So long story short, Alexander had this funky 10 days in June of 2020 where things were just really off with him. He was sleeping at weird times. He was eating at weird times, and things were just very different. He had huge mood swings, and so we knew something was wrong, right? And I asked him, I'm like, what's going on, dude? And I even asked him, are you using something? You have to tell me what's going on. I want to take you to the doctor. And he was, no, I was up late. I ate something bad. And then of course the mood swings, the kids, 14 years old, high to puberty, mood swings seem pretty normal. But about a day and a half later, he came back to us and he said, okay, I got to talk to you guys. I wanted to try Oxy. I got some from a dealer on Snapchat. It has a hold on me and I don't know why. So we were ready. We were actually ready for that moment because Alexander was the type of kid that, when he came home from that first drug prevention meeting or drug prevention week in elementary school, he wanted to know more about what that meant, what's happening to his mind and his body, and what kind of things does it mean to be high. And so we prepared ourselves and we prepared him. We talked about these things extensively with him, and as he got older, those conversations became more and more mature. So, when the experimental phase that we were prepared for came, we knew what to do. That following morning, I called a treatment place to get him in, and they needed to call me back with their recommendation. And so we went about our business that day. He got his hair cut, bought candy. He and his dad went out to lunch, hung out with friends. He had a little eBay business, and so he delivered packages, skateboarded, video games, all the normal things. But he came home. He wanted to hang out with friends in the afternoon. He came home about 9:00 at night. We said goodnight, and that was the last time we saw him alive. The following morning, I went to his room to wake him up, and he was gone. And that, unfortunately, is how we learned about fentanyl. No one was talking about it at the time. Death blindsided us. Had I thought he could die, I would have done things very differently. But again, we didn't have the knowledge of fentanyl, and no one was talking about it, and it left us shocked and obviously devastated.
Now, the anniversary of Alex's death is this Friday. How are you doing with that?
Well, I'm keeping myself busy, but I think about Alex every day since the day he died. That doesn't change, and it's just. But there's that impending feeling of that day's coming. And it means a lot to me to honor him. We're actually having a social media victims Remembrance Day that day at 2:00 in the afternoon in Orange County. And it'll be a way to remember Alex and all the loved ones lost from social media harms.
Okay. All right. Well, our we're with you, and if you want us to be there, we'll definitely be there. I'm going to be, of course, out of town, but I will make sure our organization's represented because we care. We totally care. Now,
Sure.
there was a rally this past week for Father's Day, and Sam Berman was there. You know Sam. His wife, for you guys who don't know, is famous Laura Berman. They lost their 17-year-old son, Sam, um, the same way. And
Hmm.
recently said that Snapchat is the dark web for children,
Absolutely.
unquote. Now, why would he say that? It's not just like a fun site with cool filters, right? But I
Well,
mean,
really, Snapchat is the largest open air drug market we have in the United States. And what it does is it's taken this very dark thing like that used to happen in dark, scary places and brought it into the light. There's a drug dealer in our kids' pocket on their phone 24/7. And, these dealers have access to our children on these places. I was naive. I thought that if a teen wanted drugs, they would go out and find a drug dealer and get drugs, right? That was my perception. However, I do these quarterly listening sessions with teens, and there's this whole other avenue where somehow a drug dealer becomes their friend on Snapchat, and over the course of time, they groom them into it. It's not the first time they talk. It might be the 10th, 15th time they talk because these dealers come into these spaces. They tell them how cool they are, how fun they are, how smart they are, and how they seem to have a lot of clout with their friends. Meanwhile, our kids are vulnerable, right? They need $20 from mom and dad. They need a ride. They need permission. And then they've got this adult making them feel really important, taking advantage of that vulnerability, and having our kids end up doing things that they never would have done before. And I hear it all the time. Oh, they'd never do that to me. They're my friend. And I don't know how to get through to these kids. Like, drug dealers are not your friend. You're a dollar sign to them. And they're going to find you anywhere and everywhere they can. And Snapchat is one of the biggest avenues for that. And it works with other platforms too. They advertise their Snapchat on their Instagram page. Hey, hit me up at Snap if you're looking for these things. Come pay me over here at Telegram. It's a whole network through social media.
so why Snapchat? Why not
Well,
Instagram or?
oh, Instagram has its own fair share of problems, but that's another episode. But why Snapchat? Because of the disappearing messages. The messages go away. There's this huge level of anonymity for dealers and for teens on this platform. That's the appeal of the whole platform. It's designed for crime.
I mean, this is probably going to be eye-opening for many parents who are listening to this. What else don't we know about Snapchat? What would blow parents' minds? Can you share
I
some of
think
that?
one of the drug emoji code. At the time of Alexander's death, I knew nothing of the drug emoji code. No one was talking about it. Nobody put it together and let people know that it was a thing that existed. I checked Alex's Snapchat. Had I seen it, I wouldn't have known what I was looking at, right? I looked for sex traffickers and bullies. So there's this whole language done with emojis on these platforms. And you can just search drug emoji code and it'll pop up and you can educate yourself on what those images are. And then, of course, the fact that you would think I was just with a group of kids last week and they're like, well, can't they just get the dealer's account information? I'm like, oh, I wish, but it doesn't work like that because they're advertising their menus. The communications they have are all considered free speech and they're protected right now. The other thing too is in Alexander's case, it took a year for Snap to reply to subpoenas on Alexander's account. It wasn't until the beginning of 2021 we had any, and we had no information because, of course, everything's gone at that point. And so many families have that same situation now. Snapchat has said they've gotten better, but they've gotten better. So what that means is they've gone from months to weeks in their response time. But when we're talking about these drug deaths, timing is of the essence, right? These dealers have these poison pills. It's just a matter of time before they kill again. And we have to wait weeks to get any information on that person. They don't keep any information on drug dealers. So, if there's a network of drug dealers, they don't keep that. They just delete it, so now evidence is being destroyed. And then, of course, if law enforcement doesn't include an order of protection with their subpoenas, they will turn around and say to the drug dealer, hey, you've got 7 days before we turn your information over to law enforcement.
That's unbelievable.
That's the short of it. Yeah.
That right there blows my mind. So it's difficult to prosecute these drug dealers when they kill someone?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The drug dealer in Alexander's case is connected to at least 3 other deaths that I know of that I can figure out. But there's not enough evidence because, of course, it disappears. And so they're all cold cases now.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. So they're just out here being serial killers, basically, killing one person after another and getting away with it. And so Snapchat is helping them, right? And
Essentially,
to
yeah.
get away
But
with it.
they absolutely are. I mean, they're running cover for them, right? And it's all in the name of privacy, according to that. But kids are kids. They're going to go find sneaky ways to do things, and we need to get better at protecting them. And I honestly believe that if Snapchat would really make the necessary changes, or even allow a duty of care, they could lead the way in this. They could really be the heroes in this social media space, but that would mean putting people over profits, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that.
Right. And I know you have been very active and even talked to the powers that be at Snapchat. What do they have to say about all of this?
So the first time we talked to some executives at Snapchat was spring of 2021. Long story short, we were met with, "So sorry for your loss. We had no idea this was such a problem." Bold-faced lie, because you know what? You can see it in the news starting in like 2015, but in 2017, it comes up multiple times that, "Hey, Snap, you've got this problem. If you don't get a handle on it now, it's going to be out of control." And now we're living in the out of control space. And they said they had no idea.
Okay. So it's profit. That's
I
what
mean, it has to be,
is
right? Why
driving them not to do
it has
anything.
to,
I'm
you
sure
know,
they'll never admit to that, but it's always you follow
well,
the money trail,
right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Right,
mean,
right.
yeah. I mean, they've got the most money. They've got the strongest lobbyists. I mean, what else could it be? I mean, if they had a heart, I mean, I had the naive mindset in the beginning that if you told Snapchat what was wrong, they'd fix it. How ridiculous am I, right? How embarrassing that I even thought that to begin with. I had no idea. But if you look at history, how did the automotive industry change? Legislation. How did big tobacco change? Legislation. I mean, look at everything with the Sacklers and look how long that's been going on. I mean, it's going to take a lot of people to move these mountains, but you know what? It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. There will be a point where parents say enough is enough. And it's not just about the drugs. It's about the sexploitation type stuff that goes on, the eating disorder stuff that goes on, the bullying to suicide stuff that goes on. There is so much our kids are up against in these spaces that they're going to have to fix it. All of them collectively.
That is so mind-blowing. It really is, for a parent who has given a phone to their child to keep them safe and that they can stay in contact with in case anything happens, especially in this day of age where you have school shootings and stuff. You want to give your kid a phone. You have kidnappings, sexual exploitation. You want to give your child a phone so that they can stay safe. But
And
here we are.
we give them these phones and we don't send them out into this world with the safety precautions, right? Maybe now it's happening probably more and more nowadays. But, when I gave Alex his phone and social media, I thought it was sex traffickers and bullying. I looked for those things. I did what the social media companies were telling us, But one of the biggest things that come out when I talk to youth is that my parents get frustrated. What's wrong with you? That type of thing. But here we are as parents trying to guide our teens through an experience that we have no lived experience with. We have no idea what they're up against. Their life, my 15-year-old daughter's life is drastically different than mine. Mine was probably closer to my grandmother's, and this is all because of technology and social media.
Wow. That's I mean, it's true. We're in a whole new world, to quote Disney, we're a whole new world, Aladdin. We've never experienced this before because of the internet. Now, as a parent, right away, I'm like, I don't want my grandmom now, but I don't want my grandkids to have a phone. I don't want them to have Snapchat. Now, right now, if they did, I'd be like, no, we're taking Snapchat off your phone. Is that the best practice? Like, what can parents do?
I mean, the best practice is abstinence, right? Like, let's not get the phone. Let's wait as long as we absolutely can to let them have these things. But if, you have a kid, they have Snapchat. I mean, when I talk to parents, their reaction is want to go home and take Snapchat off their kid's phone. And I get that, right? But that's going to create a whole other dynamic that's going to be an issue. And so what I recommend to parents is ask your kid, hey, what have you seen about drugs on Snapchat? And you know what? If they don't know anything, great. However they answer that question is going to give you the red flags or make you feel at peace, and what you need to know. But sometimes what happens is a kid will be like, I don't know anything about drugs on Snapchat, but somebody's sending me inappropriate pictures. I'm being bullied extensively. And so now you've opened the door to these other conversations that you can have.
Okay. And what do you say to your teen? How do you preempt anything that's going on? Like, besides, what do like, if you give them the phone, I mean, what advice would you give for that? Like, do you say, hey, if somebody does this or that?
So one thing that Snapchat does that is real and true is they have a reporting, and you can remain anonymous. You will remain anonymous should you report anything through these platforms. What I come across a lot of times are kids like, oh no, I don't think it's really anonymous. It really is. I definitely believe them in that. So if you see something, it's this whole see something, say something mentality, right? Report it. Let people know. Talk to your parents about things that are coming up. And I know it's hard because if you have a bully, your parents are going to want to go to the school. Your parents are going to want to talk to their parents or whatever course of action they're going to want to take. And it's weird and it's awkward. But at the end of the day, your parents have the best interest at heart, and we need to keep our kids safe and figure out how to deal with these things. How do we turn that bully off at 3:00 in the afternoon when they come home from school? We had that advantage, right? We got to go home and not talk to anybody or see our friends for an entire weekend or whatever it was. And our kids are constantly connected, and we need to start recognizing the mental health issues it's causing them.
Wow. I mean, it's very upsetting to know this is going on. What is the one thing that Snapchat can do right now today to fix this? And
I honestly believe they have the capability to rapidly find these drug dealers and remove accounts. I absolutely believe it. They've hired somebody a couple years ago when we talked to them. Oh, we've hired this person. They've got all this great software. We're going to be able to implement these things. Here we are. It's been 3 years since Alexander died. It's still happening every day. I got an email today, this morning, woke up to an email from a family that lost their 17-year-old this week.
Oh my God.
Well, those emails are not uncommon. And it's happening. Our son died. He has a Snapchat account. What do we do? And so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So they need to dial up those protections and make it happen, and just deal with the loss. They're gonna lose revenue. Those things will happen, but you know what? They're gonna bounce back. They're gonna regain it. Meanwhile, we're all still left without our kids.
This is heartbreaking. How many children do you think have been lost approximately because of this one social media platform?
I really don't have an answer for that. If I were to guess how many kids die a day on Snapchat, my guess is 4. And that's looking at news reports, that's hearing from parents, that's looking at police reports, coroner's data, all of that stuff. But again, I have really no way of knowing, and neither really does Snapchat for that matter. They're not no one's really tracking that information. Partnership for Safe Medicines has a great map on their website that shows you the drug-related deaths where it was purchased through social media. So that's a great indicator. It's a good piece of information, but there's really just no way of knowing. But we've had this rapid growth in kid death. 12 to 17-year-olds, the fastest growing demographic for death. And that stuff is driven by social media.
Got it. Now, there is a lawsuit with some parents suing Snapchat. How many parents are on the lawsuit?
I think they're they're all individual lawsuits. Okay. The initial filing had 8 families on it, including mine. I think they're somewhere around 80 now. I can't remember the last count, but with more ready to go, So that's what I seem to remember them saying. Don't hold me to that number, but I think that was the last number that I heard.
80. That's 80 too many children gone. It's not just a lawsuit. People who are listening, that each lawsuit represents a child that has died because they were on Snapchat and drug dealers. So how does this happen? So, to the best of your knowledge, like, does drug dealers, did a child usually use the emoji and to find a drug dealer, or the drug dealer find a child and stalk the child, or does it happen both ways? What's going
Both
on?
ways. Absolutely both ways. The one avenue is the drug dealer kind of breaks down your kid's sensibility, and what they wouldn't do the first time, they're now doing on the 10th, 15th interaction. They're finally giving into it. I've seen people have sent me message exchange between a kid and a drug dealer, and there's a lot of pressuring involved. So for whatever reason, the kid went to this page, they're turning down the drugs, but the dealer's like, oh no, just this one time, it'll help you lose weight. It'll help you sleep at night, whatever it is. And they kind of badger them. And next thing you know, a kid's buying it because they're desperate to get this person to leave them alone. They think that they'll go away. And that's not the case either. And then, in Alex's case, I'm not really sure how he got linked to this drug dealer. I'm going to be really honest. Alex was curious about drugs. I told you that in the beginning. And so I don't know who initiated it, but Alex definitely had a curiosity. But there are many other kids out there. It's the process. It's the grooming process where they eventually fall into the trap.
And how does it get to your house? Can you explain
that?
Oh,
they can just drive right over. They just drive right to your house.
They drive right over. I read somewhere, or I think I heard a sheriff say that they also can use like pickup services that you would normally order food from, like
absolutely, it's happening
through, but they're not aware of. Well, I'm going to say this, okay? Because a while ago I used to drive for like Uber Eats, right? So that was a long time ago, but I know, and I belong to the Facebook pages of these drivers still, and I got on a driver because he knew he was delivering marijuana to somebody's house, because you can smell it, right? So I was like, listen, you could be delivering this to a minor.
And that's the whole thing. And then, and it's not, again, like I said, it's not necessarily unique to Snapchat. The Snapchat angle is really unique to the kids dying, but it's also happening on dating apps. It's happening on, people are ordering their medicine and they're dying, whatever it is. There's a variety of ways it's happening, but Snapchat is definitely about the factor in driving the kid's death, major factor.
Right. I'm just going to say this for everyone who's listening. I've been preaching about fentanyl in Orange County around here and seeing the same people over and over again with the same message. And just last week, one of the people that I see every week and knows that what I do finally got the message. I think it took like 5 different interactions before they realized that their Adderall that they were getting from a drug dealer could kill them. And that's all I've been talking about.
The message doesn't always land the first time. It takes some time.
It's amazing to me. I'm sitting next to them, and I'm explaining. They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "That's all I've been talking about."
Right. It happens. I've been in that same situation, and I recently had a conversation with a school district. I won't name who or whatever, but they lost 2 kids this year in less than 6 months. And he wants to do something for the school and la-di-da-di-da, but it took those 2 kids dying for it to be real to them, and it shouldn't take that. This is very real. Like, we are up against this every single day. It should not take a kid dying at a school for people to finally decide to react.
Right. I saw statistics, something about 1 out of 5 children in the United States are that they're dying from fentanyl.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I don't
want to get wrong. 1 or maybe 1 out of 5 overdoses of kids is fentanyl. I have to make sure I get that right. I'll make sure I put it underneath.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. I'd be curious. I want to know that statistic.
Yeah, I keep seeing it over and over again. I have it writing somewhere. I don't want to misquote it. And then in Orange County is the number 1 killer right now of teens.
Well, it's the number 1 killer of everyone in Orange County. I'm sorry, in California right now. And then, in Orange County, 17.
Right. In California, for sure, adults 18 to 45 throughout the United States. More than COVID, y'all. I mean, COVID was talked about every day. We had COVID, like, banners on the news that we would see every night. Countdowns on websites, like, which state has the worst COVID numbers. This you barely hear about numbers. You once in a while you'll see something in the paper. You'll see the drug bust more than you will hear about the educational part of how to protect yourself.
And that's a whole other issue too, with the drug bust. Okay, fine, they busted people for drugs, but let's talk about what these drugs are. Let's talk about how they're impacting the communities. Let's talk about how they're impacting our kids and do something about that. We know these busts are happening. Let's move on to the education and awareness piece, because that is what's going to move the needle. Because you can bust people and put drug dealers wherever, however, but there's still more drug dealers. It doesn't solve that problem. So the best way to put drug dealers out of business is to not buy their drugs.
Yes. And if it doesn't come from your pharmacist, your doctor, you are at risk. I'm just going to say it clear. That is a blanket statement, and I'm making it, and I'll say it again. I stand by what I said. If you do not get your drugs from a doctor, from a pharmacy, you are at risk. It might not happen the first time, the seventh time, the ninth time, but you are putting yourself at risk to die, because fentanyl is going to eventually, it's right now 6 out of 10 pills are lethal or potentially lethal, depending on your tolerance. But soon it's going to be probably 10 out of 10, because when I started in January, it was 4 out of 10. A few months later, it was 6 out of 10. You're really at risk. Let me ask you this question, Amy, and it may be a hard question for you, but this might help another parent. If you knew about fentanyl when Alex came to you, this is hard for me to say, so I know it might be hard for you, the day before, what would you have done differently?
We would have gone to the emergency room that night. Absolutely. I know that for a fact. I know how we are as a family. I never would have ever left his side until we got him into treatment. And fortunately, we didn't know. We still thought it was somebody stealing grandma's pills and selling them to friends. Like, if he had legitimate oxy, he'd still be with us. Like, yeah, if I could have a do-over, that would be it.
I wish you could have a do-over. I really do. For the people who are just listening to the podcast part, we put up Alex's face. Can we put his face back up there? Because he's the cutest little kid.
Thank you. He is adorable.
Yeah, with the braces and a smile, and and curiosity is where you're supposed to be as a teen. It's not supposed to be a death sentence, to be curious, because we encourage curiosity in our kids, right? So he's adorable. Like, I think of him a lot.
I agree. I completely agree. He's super cute.
He doesn't fit any stereotype that people would think of, right? And he has he's bubblegum and braces. Like, that's what you see, and so
he's just a kid doing kid things.
Absolutely. He's so adorable. Now, on a more positive note, you took your pain and made it into purpose to help other people with the Alexandra Neville Foundation. Can you tell people about the foundation, what it is that you do?
Sure. So our primary function is, and my goal is to talk to as many parents and teens as I can. So I travel the country these days giving talks, presentations to youth. Last week I was at 2 different youth conferences speaking, and I'll doing parent presentations too. And the education awareness piece is really where it's at for me. I mean, I've educated a lot of different organizations and things like that, but the teens are really where it's at. And one of the things that we have is a peer-to-peer prevention program where the kids come in, they get educated on these issues, but they take it over. They're now educating each other. They are leading these conversations, and they inform us on what we do. So everything I talk about, I run it by these kids first, by these teens. I shouldn't say kids. I know it's kind of minimizing when they're that age. But I always ask them, do I sound like an old lady? How could I say this in a way that is more impactful to you? And they give me great feedback. They give me great information. They keep me up to date on the latest and greatest of what they're seeing on Snapchat and other social media spaces. So I'm so grateful for their help and their work, involving themselves in the work that we do. In fact, we have a teen coming out to the event on Friday who's going to be speaking to the crowd.
Oh, fantastic. I love when the teens get involved, because they become ambassadors and they can save their friends what happens.
They're experts. They know this stuff, and we need them. We need to listen. They're going to be the ones that get us out of this mess.
Isn't that something how we depend on the youth, and then they do get us out of it. But that they're champions. I believe that too. I'm a former high school teacher, so I know how when they get organized, they're leaders, and they will
Yeah.
push the envelope and get it done. So now that's fantastic. Now we put up your website for people to reach you, but for people who are listening on the podcast, can you let them know how they can find you?
Sure. The website is pretty simple. It's ANF, so Alexander Neville Foundation, ANFhelp.org. And they can reach me through there. You can see resources that we have on that page. And I'm an open book. I will talk to you guys about any of this. Let's talk. Ask me questions. Keep your hate mail to yourself.
Absolutely. That's right. We don't need that. You've been through enough. We don't need hate anywhere in this world at this point. Well, Amy, I want to thank you for joining us today on our podcast and live stream. You've been a pleasure. And I know it's hard.
It is.
No worries. And I want to thank all of you for participating and listening to Fentanyl Solution. We will be on every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're at Fentanyl SOL, SOL, Fentanyl SOL, and website at fentanylsolution.org and fentanylsolutiongroup.org. Scan our QR code, and that will allow you to donate, which helps us to keep spreading the word and awareness about the dangers of fentanyl. Be sure to leave a comment and rate our podcast. And until next time, remember, you are the solution. Take care.